Every club. Every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the Daily Manchester United. Happy Friday. Yes, you made it. I've got great news. You've got a great weekend coming up. Bad news, we've got Bournemouth. Yeah, I didn't want to break the news to you, but we're away at the Vitality. This should be an interesting one where we take on 8th in the league Bournemouth whilst we sat in 14th place looking for that magical 40 points. We haven't got long left to get it. Hopefully we can get it in the next 5. My name is Kieran. I'm joined by the graceful Sam Brady. Sam, how are you doing today?
Very good, very good.
And I'm also joined by Tom. Tom, how are you doing tonight?
Hello, folks. Yes, so we were gearing up for an away trip to Bournemouth, which won't mean anything to us in the grand scheme of things, as we look to build, hopefully, some bit of morale for when we travel to Bilbao next week. We shall see. But, hopefully we'll see more of the likes of Harry Ames, Tyler Richardson, or Fredrickson, or whoever it may be, in the lineup on Sunday.
Yeah, Bournemouth are looking for an outside chance of Europe as well, so they'll be looking very tantalisingly at this fixture, hoping for a 3 points. But I'm hoping we can at least give them what for and try and make it to that 40-point barrier, which obviously we're mathematically safe if you didn't already know. And I've got some bad news for you that Liverpool are now only 1 point away from winning the title. So the next time you listen to us, be it the Sunday or the Monday, Liverpool could be champions, and that's quite depressing. But let's not talk about that right now. Let's distract ourselves with some cold, hard facts. It's been evidently clear, Sam, we're talking about it along this week as well. We've lacked goals this season. 38 goals in the Premier League. That's compared to 52 that Bournemouth have scored, and they're in 8th place. We're in for a couple of strikers in the window that we've talked about already. One of them now being Liam Delap we are linked with. Who's your dream striker to bring in and help our offensive woes?
Yeah, as you said then, we've been linked with many attackers, and the one probably most dominant rumours at the minute is Matheus Cunha from Wolves, and to be honest, I think he would actually be a great signing to play off that left, and obviously he's had a great season for Wolves, and he definitely will move on. And I think if he does come to United, obviously he has that Portuguese connection, not only with Almiron but with Bruno as well. But yeah, I think he will help us obviously going forward, but I do think there's still a lot more to do. As you said, we've been linked with Liam Delap as well. I mean, if Ipswich go down, and I think he has about a 30 million release clause, it wouldn't be a bad signing for 30 mil. I don't know if he's sort of the striker that's really going to take us to that next level. But we are sort of lacking in that number 9 position at the minute. Obviously, Højlund's not had a great season at all. Maybe, to be honest, next season for Højlund, I wouldn't even mind seeing Højlund go on loan for a bit, to be honest. Go on loan for a club where there's maybe less pressure, where he can start scoring goals again, and then maybe bring him back in a season's time where we're sort of more in that rebuild process, and maybe bring in a striker next season who can really grab the goals. Obviously, I was talking to a few people as well this week. There's Osimhen as well, who's on loan at Galatasaray at the minute, and he if he can maybe patch things back up with Napoli, I'm not too sure. So maybe he's a player that will be on the market, and obviously he's a very good goal scorer as well. I think this season, over the past couple of weeks, as United fans, we've probably seen the best out of Joshua Zirkzee, maybe in that number 10 role, just behind that striker. Obviously he's injured now as well till the end of the season. But we saw it was evident against Wolves on the weekend, where we just don't create enough. Like it's ridiculous, really. We keep the ball quite nicely. We have a few plays where you look at it and go, okay, that looked quite nice, and things. You are starting to see things start to settle in the Almiron system, and players sort of look like they know what they're doing in this setup. But if we can't score, like even against Wolves on the weekend, we're going to get punished at the other end, and we're going to consistently lose games. But Cunha's the one where he looked good against us on on Sunday, I believe it was. Or maybe Saturday, my mistake. But yeah, Cunha's the one who can provide the goals, and he'll be looking to move on. So yeah, a few options for us, I think.
Yeah, a few options. I mean, we one of them we haven't mentioned, Tom, that so far this week is Liam Delap, and he's got 12 goals in 32 appearances in the Premier League, which is not a bad return, especially for Ipswich, who Sam said if they go down, it's probably more like when they go down rather than if they're hanging on by a thread and they have to rely on West Ham not getting results, which actually at the moment is highly likely. But the point being right now, throwing shade at other teams when we're 14th, try better, Kieran, is Liam Delap. Is it going to be a case of, if we go for Liam Delap, are we going to fall into the same trap as Hoyland? Because Delap is 22. He's still a developing player. He's had, this season in the Premier League, he absolutely burst onto the scene at the start of this season. But sort of as championship teams go when they come up, it's very rare for them to keep a hold of that momentum once other teams sort of figure out how they're playing and figure out how to stop them, more importantly. So would we be making a mistake if we were to get Delap going down the Hoyland route, sort of prioritising a bit of youth for a bigger price tag in the hopes that they can, grow into the role at United?
There appears to be this trend where top clubs like Man United have done in the past when they signed Roy Keane when he left a Nottingham Forest side that went down all the way back in 1993, but those days were different. And I know I shouldn't really throw Liverpool into this equation, but do you remember this season after season after season when they bought a player from a relegated club and they usually thrived? That's something that I tend to look at a little bit with players like Liam Delap, because he is a good player in his own right. Would he fit into Man United's system? I'm not so sure. Bearing in mind, he is a former Man City Youth Academy player, is Liam. So I'm not sure how that would go down, but that's kind of the same when Jadon Sancho, when he was a former City youth before he moved on to clubs like Watford and Borussia Dortmund and all that. But I'm not really sure. I think if they were to sign him, it is probably an adequate sum of money, 30 million, given the economy of how football is now. Yeah, I'm on the fence with this one, to put it in other words. I would maybe look at other options first. There's one player I looked at whilst you were speaking, Sam, and that's Xavi Simons, who a Dutch player who plays for RB Leipzig. He's sort of rumoured or has a release clause of something like 70 million euros. It may not be a release clause, but that's what he's tipped to go for should anyone like Man United or Liverpool were to sign him.
Yeah, no, Xavi Simons formerly of PSG as well, so could be an interesting one. I've thought more of him as a midfielder, but then again, to be honest with you, the whole team could do with a little bit of boost in all positions. So we'll see. I mean, we focus primarily on attack because we've only scored 38 goals. There's a lot of teams around us that have scored a lot more, and one of them being Bournemouth. But let's stop thinking about the future. When we come back after the break, we'll have to focus on the present and try and solve our attacking woes with the weapon we have now. We'll be back after this.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Your body is unique. And Global Sports Podcast Network has partnered with Bioniq, the world's most personalised supplements. Bioniq provide 100% tailor-made supplements designed to deliver precisely what your body needs at exactly the right levels to optimise your health. No guessing. So click the link in the show notes. Use the code GSPN2025 for 40% off your first month's subscription. Bioniq. Don't settle for off-the-shelf solutions made for just anybody. Get what's right for you right now.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Our last win in the Premier League, I believe, was against Leicester, where we put 3 past them on the 16th of March. As you listen to this, it's the 25th of April. So although we've had some good successes in Europe, in the Premier League, we haven't scored since. So Tom, with the weaponry we have now, can we have I should say we did score one against Newcastle, but that's by the by. That ruins the whole narrative I'm setting. But how do we sort of cope and fix the attack with what we have now? Because it's clear that Amorim's got this system. He's sort of locked into it and he's putting the players in. But does anything need to change in terms of player instruction to unlock what we have right now?
It depends on who starts him. I mean, there's even one or two YouTubers saying they should start Chidobe for this game against Bournemouth, and think this would be the kind of game of its magnitude where he could make a difference. I don't know, because if they stick with Hoyland, I can't see the impacts he would make, because he was woeful against Wolves. He just provided nothing whatsoever, and I think Chidobe did more since he came on than Hoyland did throughout the whole game before he was subbed off. So that's one thing I would amend first. Would I start Fernandes and Mount? I would. I'd probably go with those two, unless maybe switch him, putting like Eriksen in there, just as there's a little bit of rotation. But yeah, I do expect to be more rotational activity going on, heading into the game at the Vitality Stadium on Sunday, because we can't play our whole team against Bournemouth. You know, there's got to be more players in that side that have not had a rest since the international break, that need to be given some minutes off on the bench, really, before they get brought on by Ruben Amorim.
Yeah, and it was interesting because we put Fernandes on the bench, Sam, to begin against Wolves and brought him on. And I mean, he didn't have enough time to change the game. But it's clear that Amorim is focused on the Europa League. So maybe this is a perfect opportunity, as Tom said, to bring in the youth and give them a chance like we did Tyler Fredrickson against Wolves.
Yeah, I think this is the perfect opportunity, to be honest, because I think we can all admit the league's a write-off right now. There's nothing to play for, and the Europa League is solely what we should focus on. I mean, even in our last segment about talking about who we should sign and who we can bring in, it's all dependent really on whether we get Champions League football. If we get Champions League football, then we can go for players of a more high-profile nature who might come to us to play in Europe. Whereas if we don't, then we might be looking at the players such as Liam Delap and the like. But I think we'll see some of the youth come in again. Harry Amas, obviously, he's played quite a few games now this season and looked pretty solid down that left-hand side. I thought Fredrickson, for a debut, I mean, okay, we did lose the game, but he didn't put a foot wrong, I don't think. So he had a great debut. And yeah, we mentioned Bruno there. I mean, that was honestly, before that Wolves game, I can't remember the last time Bruno had a rest before that game. And to be honest, I know Tom said maybe bring Bruno back in, but why not rest him? We've got probably our biggest game coming up of the season, so I don't see why throw him in against Bournemouth and risk maybe an injury or so on. But maybe, bring in Mason Mount. Obviously, he's not had many minutes this season, and his appearances have been sort of off the bench, so maybe give him a start. And I agree with what Tom said. I think this would be the perfect opportunity to play Obi as well up top. I mean, I think we've said it all season on this podcast and throughout, where we wanted to see Obi get more minutes since his introduction into the first team, and he hasn't really got the opportunities that I think we expected. And I think Almiron's put a lot of trust in Hoyland when maybe there's been a lot of question marks there. But if he is going to start Hoyland, which we obviously fully expect against Bilbao, as he's our only striker at the minute, senior striker, then again, why not rest him against Bournemouth? And to be honest, I don't see the game really being that exciting of a game, to be honest. I mean, Bournemouth aren't on great form themselves. I think they drew to Ipswich. They drew to Crystal Palace last game. I think they might have lost to West Ham as well. So yeah, they're not on great form even, and their European hopes are sort of hanging on by a thread as well, to be honest. So I don't see it to be an exciting game, and obviously with our biggest game of the season coming up, an away trip at Bilbao, then I fully expect a lot of rotation again, like against Wolves.
See, the thing is, I've got to remember now, because I'm pretty sure Chido Obi-Martin isn't registered for the Europa League. So it makes even more sense to start him in the Premier League game and give him a chance. So at least then it gives Hoyland a rest, because he's going to be starting in the Europa League no matter what, because we don't have really any other fit strikers. I mean, you could try and put Garnacho up front, or try what Ten Hag was trying to do. You play either Fernandes or a Mount as a false nine and try and get away with that. Makes sense to put your top goal scorer up front in terms of Bruno Fernandes, doesn't it? Try and get some goals out there. But Fernandes is not a striker. We have to get that out. I have to get that out of my head. But yeah, I'm expecting a bit of rotation, a bit of youth given a chance, because that's what this club's all about, is bringing in the players. And what was it that Ferguson said? It's something like, as long as you have 8 players that can lead the team, you can have 3 youth players to get you through the match, and you need the 8 around you to make sure you get the match across the line. And it just makes sense to bring in the youth. It's crying out. If there's ever an excuse to try and put some faith into the youth, it's now, when you've got nothing to play for in the league, absolutely nothing at all. Top half even seems like a distant at the moment. I mean, when we get to the start of next season, we might go into meltdown depending on what the signings are in the summer. But not looking great now. Hopefully it'll improve, and hopefully an away day to Bilbao will be the answer to, well, at least our woes in front of goal. But that's after the Bournemouth game. We've got to focus on the Bournemouth game. And when we come back after this short break, we're going to try and piece together what we think is the 11 that's going to go out to the Vitality and try and get us into that magical 40 points. Did you ever think you'd be hearing that? Neither did I. We'll be back after this.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Here at the Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform. Zencaster came out the clear winner. With 4K video recording from your phone and AI editing, it's super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. So if you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the show description to learn more about Zencaster.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Right then, predicted 11 time for this United side. Should be an interesting one, because goalkeeper, I don't think is going to be as cut and dry as it has been for the past couple of weeks. I'll start with you, Sam. Who are you putting in goal?
I'm going to go with Onana, and I think, obviously Bioniq came in against the Newcastle game, and Almiron did say it would just be a one-off game, and he did stick by that. But I will sort of preference this starting 11 by saying it's a similar theme with what I've said throughout previous podcast episodes, where what I think is going to happen and what I would want to happen might be a little different. But yeah, in goal it'll be Onana.
Are you agreeing with that, Tom, or perhaps a surprise in there?
No, I'll agree with Sam on this. I think Onana is the one that needs to be between the sticks. He didn't put a foot wrong in the game against Wolves, I don't think, and I don't think he did either against Lyon. So I would probably start him in net for this one. So we'll head on to defence, I think. Kieran, I'll let you take the lead on that.
Yeah, I was just going to say 3 for 3 for Onana. But there we go. So back 3 then. I'll swing it to you, Tom. Who's the back 3? Who's your centre-back starting this one?
It doesn't feel like there is a lot of choice. I think due to his personal circumstances, I wouldn't be at all surprised to see Lindelof not be involved in the matchday squad for this. I would probably go... You may disagree with me on this, Sam, but I just don't feel like we've got a lot of choice in that centre-half role unless there's any youth academy players that can play there. But it's probably going to have to be... Who do we have? It's probably going to be Maguire, De Ligt and Euro in the back line, in the back 3.
Oh, Sam, go for it.
Yeah, I would throw De Ligt in there, but I'm not. I don't know if he's going to be fully fit for the game on Sunday. But what I will say is, I actually didn't know about Lindelof's situation. So with that in mind, I'm going to go. I think, to be honest, I think Fredrickson didn't put a foot wrong against Wolves, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw him. So I'll throw him in there. I think Johnny Evans is also he was also on the bench against Wolves, and he's also back fit. He was unused against Wolves, so maybe I'd like to see him in there, and I'll go with Johnny Evans, and then in that back 3, I think. Do you know what I think? Lenny Yoro was on the bench. Maguire was on the bench. I think he'll go Maguire. I think he'll play Maguire in that back 3. So Fredrickson, Maguire, and Johnny Evans, I think, might make an appearance.
Sam, I got to tell you, it's probably a really good three you've picked there. More so that you've picked Evans. So Niall and Peter are going to be absolutely ecstatic, considering their episode yesterday was all about the Irish influence at Manchester United. They're going to be thrilled with you. I think if he's fit, I think Johnny Evans starts. But I'm sort of thinking, looking when the last home game will be for Manchester United, because who knows what's going to happen with Johnny at the end of the season. I think he's 37, if memory serves me well. 37 years old. I mean, he's done a service to the club. He's done more than his 3-month initial contract could ever have done for Manchester United. He's been really good whenever he's actually played. So I'm going to agree with you. I think that's a solid lineup. You said Evans, Fredrickson, and Maguire.
Yeah.
I think you're onto something there, Sam. He's cooking. He is cooking. Why don't you keep cooking and tell us your wing backs? What are you thinking?
Yeah, well, I went with Maguire and Evans because I think that gives Fredrickson sort of the experience next to him to sort of coach him through the game. And then my fullbacks, I'm going to go with Mazraoui. I think might come in at right wing back because then that gives the opportunity, if Almiron wants to take it, to rest Dorgu for Thursday night. And then Amas, I think, will start again off the left. Whether he goes with that, obviously Dorgu and Mazraoui, they're all interchangeable, considering Mazraoui can also play at centre-half. So I wouldn't be surprised if Mazraoui plays centre-half like he did against Wolves. Almiron he favours Mazraoui, likes him at that centre-half position. But if I'm going with my managerial head, I rest Dorgu, put him on the bench, Mazraoui on the right, Amas on the left.
Tom, you got to put your managerial head on now. Wing backs, what are you thinking?
I will agree with Harry Amas. I was thinking Luke Shaw, actually, because he's only just come back from injury. I thought he'd maybe get some more minutes under his belt, just so that he can provide himself as a genuine option. But Harry Amas, I would probably maybe give him some more minutes on that left-hand side and maybe bring Luke Shaw on in the second half to replace him. The right wing-back role, you could go with Dello, but I'm going to agree with Sam on this one and go with Mazraoui because I think Dello deserves a rest as well. And we definitely need that. Mo, overall this season, he hasn't been great, but I think in the last 2 or 3 matches, he has been better than expected. And I think he deserves a rest for this one before the trip to Bilbao. So I go with Mazraoui on the right wing-back role.
That's interesting. I was actually thinking Dallo to go there in attempt to rest Mazraoui to be playing as the centre-back role for the Europa League game. So we've all got a different mindset there, but I agree with you on the left-hand side with you both. Harry Amas is probably going to start there. I probably think Luke Shaw will be subbed on at 60 minutes at left-back if all goes to plan, just to give him some minutes on the football pitch, because when he came on against Lyon, he didn't have the greatest game, so get some confidence back in him. Half an hour against Bournemouth should hopefully do the trick, fingers crossed. But I think at right back, I think it is going to be Dallo. I think he'll be subbed off in the game, potentially replaced by Dorgu, just to make sure they keep the fitness up. That's what I'm thinking. Holding midfielders, I'll come to you, Tom. Are we going creative or anchor? What's the thinking?
Is Toby Collier fit at the moment? Do we know?
I haven't seen him on an injury list.
He wasn't on the bench against Wolves, so that makes me think he's still injured at the minute.
I was tempted to throw him in, but if he's not fit, then he won't start. So I don't want to see Ugarte starting or Casemiro starting for obvious reasons, because Casemiro isn't going to have the legs for both games. We need him for the game against Bilbao. I think you'd probably have to go with Eriksen because of the lack of options, and maybe Mainu. I think Mainu would be nice to see in that CDM role. So I would probably go Eriksen and Mainu in the defensive midfield roles.
Sam?
Yeah, see, it all depends what he wants to go. Whether he starts like he did against Wolves in that advanced role for Mainu, or whether he drops Mainu back and takes one of Ugarte and Eriksen out. Just because I think Ugarte gives you more of that defensive stability, and we are obviously playing one of the top teams this season in Bournemouth. I think he will stick by his two that started against Wolves in Eriksen and Ugarte.
Interesting. Yeah, I get what you mean, Tom. If Casemiro is going to start a game, he's going to prioritise being in the Europa League rather than anything else. I was thinking potentially dropping Mainu into the deeper midfield. play Ugarte alongside Mainu in the heart of midfield and see how that goes. Because I feel like if you're playing Eriksen and Mainu, you've got two pretty creative players, but you haven't really got anyone covering. I think Ugarte, when he's been okay in that holding midfield. I know the jury's still out on him, but I think he's been okay. So I think it's going to be Mainu and Ugarte in the heart of that midfield. See, this predicted 11, we're not going to agree on all positions all the time. So let's move it swiftly on then to attacking midfield. I'll come to you, Tom.
I think Mason Mount is a slam dunk. I would expect him to start there. You could play Eriksen, but I put Eriksen in the CDM role, didn't I? Alongside Mainu. So I'd probably have to go with... who's available in that role? I know obviously Fernandes is, but we need to be resting Fernandes, and I think you emphasised that very well, actually, Sam. Who else could we play there?
There's Garnacho.
Okay, yeah. I mean, my issue with Garnacho is that he doesn't really impress me on that left-hand side anyway. So I put Mount on the left-hand side of the attacking midfield and Garnacho on the right. I think if Garnacho plays on the right-hand side of that attacking midfield, he'll be more effective and more efficient. So that would be the two I'd go in that attacking midfield.
Well, I assume, Sam, you're benching Fernandes to rest him, but how's your attacking midfield looking?
I am definitely. And again, with these sort of wing backs or wingers or number 10s, they're quite interchangeable. Like a preference at the start of the starting 11, what I'd like to see and what I think we'll see is slightly different. So what I'd like to see is Mount off that right hand side. I think Mount just needs to get a start under his belt at the minute. I think he's been coming off the bench, which is great, but I think it's time now that he starts a game and hopefully doesn't get injured straight away. And then I'd like to see Mainu off that left hand side as well, because same with Mainu, he obviously came on against Lyon in the second leg and had a massive impact, and that was sort of his return. And then he started against Wolves and played pretty decent. So I'd like to see a Mount and Mainu on the wingers / number 10s. Whether he starts Mason Mount, I'm not too sure. I mean, if I was him, I'd start Mason Mount and rest Garnacho, because he clearly favours Garnacho and really likes Garnacho. So I think he will actually stick with the Garnacho Mainu on the wings. But as Tom said, and I think we can all agree here, that we'd all like to see sort of Mason Mount get his start.
I think I'm going the other direction. We've already talked about how you've got to have sort of the ratio is 8-3 in terms of senior players who can lead on the youth players, which is, I kind of think, is why Fernandes will probably start. It's probably not what I want to happen, but I think Amorim will start Fernandes, and I think he'll start him alongside Mount, with Garnacho coming on potentially for Fernandes, potentially for Mount if there's any injury concerns. I just genuinely see Fernandes starting the game, because I think you still need the quality there. It's not like you can throw away the entire league just like that. And Fernandes has been our best player so far this season. It's our best chance to get up to 40 points, which is not a sentence I wanted to say 4 or 5 months ago, but it is the sentence I'm saying, and our best chance of doing that is with Fernandes on the pitch. So I'm going to go Fernandes and Mount as my predicted. Are we all in agreement then? Oh, no, maybe not in agreement on who starts up top. I'll come to you, Sam, first.
Yeah, just on that Bruno situation, to be honest, I expect I would not be surprised at all if Bruno Fernandes does start. I mean, it's very rare he misses one game, let alone 2 games. So if he does start, I wouldn't be surprised. But if anything happens to him that game, that will be on Amorim's head, and all of us, I think, will be out with our pitchforks out before that Bilbao game. But yeah, in that number 9 position, as I've said, as I think we've said during the episode, I think I'd like to see Obi get the start, to be honest. I think this is, as we've said, it's the perfect game for him. There's nothing to play for. Bournemouth aren't on great form. He hasn't actually started a game yet, Obi, up front. So I'd like to see Obi. Whether I think he will, absolutely not. I think Højlund is probably going to start up top. But yeah, I'd like to see Obi, hopefully.
Tom, what are you thinking up top?
Obi.
Nice.
One word answer.
Nice. I like that. Short and sweet and to the point. I want to see Obi start the game, but there's something in the back of my head telling me he's going to put Garnacho up front, and I don't know why. I don't know why I'm thinking that. Maybe we'll look back on Sunday and think what an idiot I am, but there's a potential that he could put Garnacho to start up top. But I want it to be Obi because I think, when he's come on, he's looked great. He's looked positive. He hasn't got the goal yet, but he's showing all the hallmark signs of a striker that is hungry for a goal and keen to impress. And that's what we want from our strikers right now. Someone who has the confidence behind them, and surely a goal can come along because of that. Well, that's our predicted 11s. Hopefully, maybe you agree, maybe you don't agree. And you can let us know all of that on our social medias. We are GSPN Man United on all the socials. We're on Twitter and X, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, and we're on TikTok as well. And if you're listening here on Spotify or Apple, you can also watch our episodes now on YouTube. We are at GSPN Daily Man United Podcast. It's so long, so you have to remember it. We'll be seeing you there. I'm sure we will. Make sure you subscribe and you can watch all of the episodes when you want on YouTube. To my lovely co-hosts in Sam and Tom, thank you so much for joining me. We've got to get ready for the Bournemouth game. It's 2:00 on Sunday when you're listening to this. Hopefully we can get the points. You can watch it, I think, on Sky Sports Premier League and Main Event. Oh, 2 options for you. They're both the same, so make sure you pick the right one. In the meantime, try and enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll see you straight after match day for a bit of reaction and raw reaction. Until then, have a great weekend. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.